Recently, a new plant-based ice cream caught our eye, claiming to taste indistinguishable from traditional milk-based varieties. So you know what that means? It's time for a plant-based ice cream taste test. Now, I gotta admit, this topic sort of hits home for me because my wife is lactose intolerant, which means aside from, a little bit of cheese every now and then, I'm pretty much dairy free too. And it's kind of the same story for you, Victoria, too, right?
I just didn't really drink milk for a year or two, and then I got milk and some cookies and some donuts, and it was a bad time. I'm actually really, really happy that plant-based stuff has gotten popular because let me tell you, it's really sad when you go to the store and this is like your only option.
Our challenger, which is Eclipse, they're doing something a little bit differently than other plant-based ice creams. They use ancient corn, oats, cassava, canola oil, and cane sugar. And the idea is that by making a plant-based ice cream that more closely mimics the kind of food that real cows would eat, you end up with a plant-based milk, which is what they use to make the ice cream, that tastes a lot more like the real thing. We're going to be taste testing Eclipse along with Oatly's plant-based ice cream and our favorite. So we're coming in with a little bit of bias because we both kind of like Van Leeuwen ice cream, their plant-based version, the most out of everything. So we're going to start with the Eclipse. Because they're the challenger, and I guess it's just kind of time to dig in. We're going to be sticking with vanilla mostly because that's the flavor that most other ice cream flavors are based on. Once you have a vanilla base, you can make almost anything. Okay, so for me, right off the bat, like it's definitely creamier than pretty much almost every almond-based ice cream I've had.
It is creamier, but there is a taste.
Glad you mentioned it because there is a taste. It's buttery in like a nutty, almost like potato-y way, which I think might be because of the cassava.
It's a little chalky. Is chalky the right word? You know what it is? You know those astronaut ice cream bars that you get? You bite into it, and it's kind of like got a milk powder feel and taste to it. That's what I'm getting. It's like a powdered milk reconstituted into ice cream taste. Like, it's not terrible. I'd eat it.
That's kind of interesting because there's obviously no milk in it at all. It's completely plant-based, and there's no nuts or anything. So it's actually good for people with allergies.
Do we want to move on to the Oatly?
Yes, time to go on to the Oatly. It feels almost, not quite as dense, but almost richer in a way.
I like this more. I think the texture is closer because you're right. The Eclipse is a lot denser, kind of like almost like there's no air in it at all. It's just like really thick and creamy. So this feels closer to the like regular ice cream texture.
To me, it's almost in between like a frozen custard, but not a soft serve frozen custard and traditional ice cream. Yeah, so before we try some other flavors, we gotta try our personal favorite, the Van Leeuwen. Now you couldn't find vanilla, so you're going with chocolate.
Yeah.
And I actually did get vanilla bean Van Leeuwen, the plant-based version. So, we'll kind of have some, compare and contrast as far as like the flavoring goes. This one is by far the smoothest.
It's very smooth. I actually think I like the texture of the Oatly better, but the taste of this better. There's not a lot of aftertaste, and that might just be because I have the chocolate version. But it tastes like chocolate. I'm not getting like chocolate with an aftertaste of nut, if that makes sense.
Sometimes there's a little bit too much nut.
Just a little too much.
Finally, do you want to go back and test the Eclipse chocolate?
I do.
You're already there. You're way ahead of me.
Oh, I'm there. Like, I'm ready. I want to eat this thing. So this is better.
All right, so I haven't had any chocolate today, and like after eating a bunch of vanilla, it just hits you like a truck. Like there's like a lot of cocoa in there. Like they really like pump that, and that's actually my big complaint about chocolate ice creams in general, is that they often are like a little too watery and they just kind of lack impact. How do you think about the Eclipse of vanilla as just on its own?
Just on its own, it's okay. Like I think I could have like a smaller amount of it, but for me, the real problem is the aftertaste and the texture together is kind of just like a weird, it's not gluey. Gluey is not the right word, but like dense, chalky feel.
So you prefer the Eclipse chocolate over both the Van Leeuwen chocolate and the Eclipse vanilla?
I have to try the Van Leeuwen chocolate again for science. No, I like this one better than the Eclipse, but marginally. Like it's because this one has a really strong chocolate taste, which is to my preference. In terms of like the vanillas I was able to try, like I actually prefer the Oatly to the Eclipse as well, just because it's got a lighter texture, and it's also the aftertaste is not as bad.
Yeah, it's sort of similar for me because I like the Eclipse chocolate on its own, and I actually like it more than vanilla, which is kind of weird for me because I'm usually a more vanilla person. But in terms of overall, I definitely like the Van Leeuwen vanilla more than all of the others. Honestly, when it comes to like tasting the most like real ice cream, I think Van Leeuwen still has it. So I guess to wrap up, in terms of our favorite plant-based ice cream, what are you saying? Eclipse versus Van Leeuwen? It's the
I'm
Van
going to
Leeuwen.
have to say it's the Van Leeuwen. Like when it comes to the chocolate, it's like more like this, right? It's not that. It's not that much.
close.
But if I'm comparing it to the vanilla, it's a little more like this.
I think I'm right there with you because especially when it comes to vanilla, I still prefer the Van Leeuwen. It's got a softer, more ice cream-like texture. So even though the Eclipse is close, it's still not topping our number one.
Yeah, it's not bad. It's just not better than this. I'm sorry. We can't all be better than Van Leeuwen.